as I said I would, today is going to end up being my last video for the year. I am recording this the day of me uploading the video that I worked on last week. Again, as I said I would. And today's video is actually going to end up being like a over-encompassing... It's going to be an overview on what this project was. Not just for me personally, but for like what it was supposed to have been. My hair looks absolutely poofy because I had it... I blow dried it, and this is what it looks like. Now, very specifically, because while I said it within the recording of the video, I did not keep that part in it. Today's video is actually going to be kind of sort of a media messages video. It's a sort of retrospect on the project. It's the project that I'm doing through the lens of a mini album analysis, because that's what I do best. The album or mini album in question is actually Golden Hour Part 2 by Stray Kids. I was just listening to Superbored. Oh my gosh. The album or mini album in question is Golden Hour Part 2 by ATEEZ. Why Part 2? Because it's very important for not just like because it was the one that inspired me to make this video. Easiest way of saying that. The two disclaimers I want to make in this video before we get into the analysis and the retrospective is this is going to be my personal analysis based off of my understanding of the translated lyrics and what was specifically explained when it came to those lyrics. There's a song on this mini album that has a line that could be taken in two separate directions and it still fits within the message of the song. I am surrounded by lyrical geniuses. Also, Cheese is literally laying right beside me, so if I get sidetracked again, you'll know why. The second piece of a disclaimer that I needed to make. I am not about to go on an entire tangent explaining ATEEZ lore or generalization, the lore behind like the overarching story that they are telling. One, because I don't understand it myself, so of course I'm not going to be explaining. I would be everywhere at once. But two, because at least for this video, it's not going to matter that much. I will bring it up though, but if you want to go ahead and get into like the nitty-gritty of the actual overarching storyline that they're telling, you could go ahead and watch the music videos yourself or watch someone else's in-depth analysis on ATEEZ lore. The only thing that you should know is that they are pirates. They're essentially a pirate rebellion. And when we get to Golden Hour and Part 1 and 2, this is just after they have essentially successfully rebelled and got back to their own timeline or universe. That's beside the point. That's all you need to know. Okay, before we get into the analysis, a few generalizations, just to make sure we're all caught up. While Golden Hour Part 1 was talking mainly about the mundane, chilling out after saving the world from a musicless existence, Part 2 seems to be more focused on love and a deep understanding of one's core values. So, as I said, with Golden Hour Part 1, they're just getting back to living life normally, though not really to having to deal with a sense of loss due to it. Part 2 is them figuring out what they value or how to find the value within themselves after having to deal with headlining an entire rebellion. Now, of course, for me, the first listen and the first look through the lyrics, I find out we get a bit more of a mature Yearn tease. There's a lot of songs that they write that talks about passion, and it could be taken into several different aspects of what that word means. Now, already from the generalizations I ended up making, not just about like where we are within the storyline, the overarching storyline, but very specifically what the album in and of itself is about. You can see why I decided to go ahead and, at the very least, include such an analysis in this project. Because I had an entire arc that was dedicated to this kind of thing. However, when I was writing the videos for that arc, the album didn't come out yet. So we start off with the first song on the album, the mini album, which is Deep Dive. As far as a lyrical analysis for the song, it seems like it's supposed to be like a solo introspection. The generalized concept is taking a deep dive into one's self. And one of the things that they bring up in the song several times is essentially getting lost within that moment of introspection, which I don't think I put too much of an emphasis on throughout the discovery arc, but I did bring up why having a more solid internal compass or moral compass was important, because of the fact that you have the ability of essentially getting lost in the details of who you are or who you wish to be, what you decide to value within yourself, down to even what parts of yourself you're comfortable in showing other people. The thing that I did not write down, but I do remember because, again, having to do a lyrical analysis just to make this outline, in Mingi's verse, he was specifically talking about not feeling, a generalization of not feeling comfortable showing the anxieties that he specifically has to deal with. Something that he wants to go ahead and try to hide from other people, but he doesn't really know how long he's going to be able to hide it for. It's like climbing to the summit of a mountain, knowing that you were going to do that in the first place because, hello, we're all driven to do stuff like that, but not really being secure and being able to stay at that point. One, I'm very much glad this man decided to be very open and honest, at the very least with the fans, when it comes to his, I wanted to say emotional turbulence, because that seemed to have been the phrase of the month for me. But when it came to like him not being okay, it gives off that sense of, hey, I might be living this lifestyle and I might be writing these types of lyrics and showing you this specific side of me when it comes to the performances. But there's also this more human side of me, this part of me that is like relatively insecure about whatever it may be. I don't want to be specific because I don't want to go ahead and start cutting into this man. He's already had to deal with enough. While Hongjoong, okay, side note, trying to say his name properly, for me at least, it's a no-go. So I will be saying Captain. It is literally the same person. While Captain's verse is specifically more about the concept of being able to dive deep into, let's say, your emotions or your own thoughts, but there's also that fear of getting lost in it, getting stuck in it, which is something else that I also had to deal with myself. Because, like, my brain has this entire thing where if the neural pathway has already been laid out and we've gone over it, like, at least, like, maybe 3 to 4 times, it is more likely I will essentially continue that thought loop until I find a way out of it. And that is very difficult. Especially if you don't know where you're supposed to be going with it. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information? But the generalization here is that it's asking, are you satisfied with what you have accomplished and who you have become? And then asking the question, why or why not? So, summarizing it, it's the hermit mode in song form. The second song off of the album, Scene 1, Value, very specifically points out what we're supposed to be focusing on for this mini album. If the values align, the vision can be visualized. Or as they said, great minds think alike and only we can see the true vision. No, but seriously though, that is like the only lyric in that song. It is absolutely genius. Almost like a validation thing. Kind of cliche, but I like it. Then we have what was supposed to be the single from this mini album, or the song that they used for promotion of this mini album. I wish I had the mental capacity to try to explain why I had to word it that way when it comes to like how K-pop idols and idol groups handle promotions when it comes to their new albums. I don't have the mental capacity. I don't have the patience. Ice on my teeth, which, as a person whose teeth is very sensitive to the changes in temperature, ow. Now, this song specifically is all about recognizing your own worth, or them recognizing their own worth, their own value, and making yourself, or them making themselves, their top priority. So the funnier thing about it is, about this song that I have not written down for reasons, is when I made this outline, it was the day before, I believe, it was the day before they came out with the English version of Ice on My Teeth. And the only thing I'm going to say is that while it doesn't completely change the concept of it being mainly about knowing one's worth or knowing one's value, it paints it in a completely different manner than the original song does. And this was something else I ended up having a problem with personally, because I was not raised to prioritize myself, whether that be my mental, emotional, or physical well-being. It almost seemed as if I was supposed to be raised to only be of assistance to someone and to constantly show my gratitude through unconditional loyalty, unrestricted loyalty. And what made it even worse is once I started acting as if I valued myself more than I valued the way that I specifically looked to other people, or more than I valued other people's opinion on me, it started making seemingly more problems for me, because it started showing people's true intentions and colors and what have you. Like, it started solidifying and validating fears that I had back when I was in 6th grade. So it's recognizing one's worth slash value, pointing out I am my top priority, as it should be, and acting as if you know. On to the next song, Man on Fire. So this song is basically the concept that I said earlier. The more mature, what? The more mature yearn tease. It's them showing that they have a strong passion for something or someone. I don't want to know which one it is. And realistically, you have an entire group of 8 men. Most of them have their North Node in Leo. You have four separate members, all being fire sign sons. Basically, their sun sign is a fire sign. Passion is going to be one of the main things you end up getting out of them. Also, if you decide to listen to the song or try to look into the lyrics, I will tell you this much: it is not for the faint of heart. Please be prepared. I say mature yearn tease for a reason. As a person that was passionate, very passionate when it came to a lot of things, and ended up losing a lot of that passion, and then found a system that works with gaining back that passion, but in such a slow process that it's almost stressful to me, at least at this point, to essentially hear, this is what I'm willing to do to get to this point, coming from someone else, it validates how passionate I was and how passionate I want to be again. Sideline, it is also something I specifically want in a romantic partner. Not just someone that's like very passionate, but someone that's very passionate about being with you. I ended up, before I decided to do this project, I ended up writing a poem, and I labeled it Scorpio's Diary. I kid you not, when I ended up reading the line, I'll walk into the fire if it's for you, it reminded me so badly of that poem, because in it I specifically said something around the lines of, if you're not willing to meet me in the middle of the fire, in the middle of the flames. I think I'm about to bring it up. Hold on. Okay, so I'm specifying. The line was a burning building, but everything's fine. Okay, so not only was I just reminded, I probably should be going through the poems I ended up posting on Instagram in and of itself, but I was filming a video. So yeah, there's that. I would love to think that specifically was just coincidence, but stranger things in my life have happened. On to the next song, because obviously. So, Selfish Waltz. Why was that so difficult to say? I mean, I said it the first time, but ow, that hurt my brain. Seems to be about how feelings taking over is not always a good thing. Generalization. Specifically in relationships, but like generalization. Because sometimes you have to like sit with those feelings and like allow your brain to go ahead and process the feelings. Other times you might just be attacking the person because they hurt your feelings, or at the very least you perceive them as hurting your feelings, and it just makes it even messier. This is the song that has the specific line that made me think, oh my gosh, Captain, you are a lyrical genius. But also, huh? What? Second thing, Captain, who hurt you? This isn't the first time we've had to ask that question this year alone. This man put out an entire song that asked, "Why do you love?" And the first thing I'm thinking of is, "Why do you love?" Like, okay, existential crisis aside. No, it's just a Scorpio being a Scorpio and essentially acting as if his ex being able to move on from their relationship is a bad thing. Because this man is possessive as heck. Captain, who hurt you? Please! But the second thing that I'm getting out of analyzing the lyrics of the song is what is actually the core of the issue. I just had to read what I wrote down. Because feelings and emotion have a tendency to get in the middle of you being able to think rationally. Basically, if you don't specifically take time to process your feelings before you essentially react, it could make things messier. As the song itself is called Selfish Waltz, it's dancing around the issue instead of actually getting to the issue directly. And the last song of this album, Enough. Because I've done enough, I've had enough, I am enough, and I'm done. The general analysis of this song is kind of a message to whoever is also going through this. Sometimes you feel like you're alone going through stuff like this, especially if you're kind of having to deal with like finding an entirely new friend group because you can't really handle your old one. You tried and it didn't really work out because while you're trying to specifically evolve as a human being, as a person, they kind of just want to stay the same. And while you don't want to go ahead and try to drag their butts into the evolution, because that's taking up a lot more energy than it needs to, it also kind of feels sad to like separate yourself simply because of it. But for the people that decide to go ahead and leave those people that do not wish to evolve with you behind, it becomes very lonely. So songs like Enough, where it's like, hey, I'll be there either rooting you on or helping you through the process just by being there for you to like tell me what's going on, and maybe I can even help you fix it. But just know that you are doing enough, you are enough, and you'll go far enough. You don't have to rush through this process because it will only make it that much more painful. And I really did wish that I had someone like that when I was originally going through this process of processing my childhood trauma into teenage, young adulthood trauma, and trying to figure out who I am past all of that, or at the very least, the type of person that I wanted to become past all of that. Which kind of goes into the reason as to why I did this project in the first place. One of the main things I found an issue with was I never felt comfortable in expressing the things that I was actually going through. In fact, when I was in school for a decent portion of it, I would essentially create stories about what I'm having to deal with outside of school that would still essentially give off this similar "there's something wrong with me" vibe, but make it a bit more grandiose because I did not quite understand that, one, you're not supposed to do that, and two, that the people that ended up telling those stories did not really care at all. And that is a very complicated feeling to like have to sit with. On one hand, it meant that the friends that I had at that time could not care less about what I was coming from. because of the type of person that they specifically met me as I was. But at the other end of it, it also meant they could not care less for how I got to being that person. But if you feel like you can't talk about your experience, and it's not through like any type of legal ramifications as like a non-disclosure agreement, I was able to remember the longhand version of that, the longhand name for that, but an NDA. Okay, so that's going to end up being like the generalization of this entire thing. If you don't feel like you can talk about your experience and your experience with something or someone, and you haven't signed a legalized or notarized NDA for it, that only proves that you should talk about it more. There was a lot of things that were specifically going on in my life past what other people were able to see. And even to this day, a lot of my family members still do not know me the way that I feel like they should if they had been in my life this entire time. Even my older sister and my mother, who have essentially been two of the most consistent people in my life, as in they were consistently present there, don't even know me to my fullest extent. It seems like my mom only wants to know me enough to see what she can do with me, and my sister just seemed to want some sort of validation because she felt like she was going crazy. For valid reasons. I mean, emotional manipulation be making it so weird. But I wanted to also leave with some sort of leave a lot of these videos with some sort of takeaway for people that also have to deal with similar issues. If I'm going to be talking about my experience, I'm going to at least leave some sort of like advice that I can give to other people that have to deal with similar experiences. Hopefully, any of those pieces of advice would be able to help them in the slightest. And the generalized conclusion of, my ear itches. The generalized conclusion of not just this video, but this project in and of itself, this project as a whole. I originally got into ATEEZ around February of this year. And around that time was when I felt like I've either lost all of my passion or most of my passion for the things that most of the desire or the drive to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. So I feel like ending is seeing as though I technically started this project off with ATEEZ. At least on a personal level, I felt like a video like this would have absolutely been fitting for the end of such a project. But as I was trying to bring up earlier, I felt like I had lost full drive, desire, passion for a lot of the stuff that I was actually passionate about beforehand. And it got to a point where one of the songs I ended up listening to that I absolutely adore and will probably say is my ultimate favorite song of ATEEZ, Halazia, or Halazia. I don't know how you're supposed to properly pronounce it because I say it in several different ways. That's absolutely hilarious. Was I can't feel what it's like to be alive. And the fact that that line specifically resonated with me so strongly at that moment kind of helped me with figuring out what the issue was at the time, but also made me feel a bit more like, okay, Well, at least I'm not broken. It showed me exactly how badly I was feeling, but also gave me some sort of weird comfort to know I was at least able to put it into words. And it also kind of brings into what I'm going to be doing after this project, which I did not really think I was going to be doing until after I got the idea and felt and actually started doing the thing. While I won't be focused on making YouTube a career from this point on, I will be focusing on learning things for other passions that I have that I was able to essentially revive. At the very least, I will be doing YouTube videos after this point, but probably not as often and not really as consistently. Maybe about once a month, depending, or if something exciting happens in my life. To put it bluntly, I'm using YouTube now more as like a time capsule for like what I'm learning or what I'm doing, what I have accomplished. Kind of what I did with this entire project. But I think this is the best way to end such a project, at least for now. I have been filming, I have been recording this video for almost an hour, which for an album that was only like maybe 6 songs feels insane. But there was a lot for me to talk about. And if that doesn't tell you, I'm very passionate when it comes to lyrical analysis specifically, but also that I have found my drive for this mess, then I don't know what will. So I guess I will see you sometime next year. But I also have not specified when I will be coming. Hi! She's purring too. Obviously, I won't be stopping YouTube for a while, but I will be focusing on other things. So if you wish to stay, even after everything that I've just said in this video, you can. So I guess I'll do what I'm classifying as my normal outro. Like, share, subscribe, and I will definitely see you next year at some point. You know, if the cat in my lap literally does not decide to take my entire attention, because she is doing so right now. She is purring up a hecking storm, and it's hard to keep focus. I am Toki, aka your local internet friend, and this is Toki saying Toki out.